As we head towards closure of this morning's edition of News and Views, the time is just gone 10 minutes to 10, and it's time now to take a look at the United Nations. Writing to International Relations Minister Naledi Pandor, giving the South African government 30 days to respond to their joint communication on allegations of xenophobia and attacks on foreigners in the country. Joining us to discuss this further, the chairperson of the African Diaspora Forum, Dr. Vusumuzi Sibanda. Dr. Sibanda, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Good morning and good morning to your listeners, and thank you for the invite.
Dr. Sibanda, the fact that the United Nations is now telling South Africa, act urgently against xenophobia, what message are they giving to our government?
Well, look, I think it is a very welcome position because the United Nations has particularly not been, very hands-on when it comes to some of these issues. We know this because of what happened with, the refugees starting from 2018 and 19, the ones that had to camp, at the UNHCR offices in Pretoria and then in Cape Town, because they said, look, they are invited. So at this particular stage, when the United Nations basically gets worried about the xenophobic attacks that are taking place in the country and the sentiment and the fact that men seems not to be doing much, it is a very welcome, position. And, we hope that that will spare, the South African government to ensure that, stronger and sterner measures are taken against anyone that seems to, perpetuate, or try to influence the escalation of xenophobic attacks.
Yes, and also in the case of South Africa, what is the major concern, and I suppose it is to the United Nations as well, Dr. Sibanda, is when one looks at xenophobia, it is not just, it's not passive. We're talking about violent xenophobia. We're talking about attacks on foreigners. We talk about violent vigilantism in the country, and we've seen so much damage, so much loss of life, damage to property, and it's the nature of the xenophobia that is unfolding in this country.
Very true. I mean, you will notice that a lot of migrants can get killed, and especially on these direct xenophobic attacks, and ministers that then speak on it, they will speak and say, there are South Africans that are also being killed, so why should we be concerned, when migrants are killed? The South Africans that are being killed, whether they are killed by a migrant, these are ordinary, crimes that have nothing to do with this particular outrage that we're seeing here. And, what we are looking at is a situation where we want to see the government, the ministers standing up and condemning, the death, the killing, of people for the mere fact that they are migrants living in South Africa, and making sure that they are protected. But instead, you see ministers aligning themselves with these vigilante groups and continuing also to say inflammatory statements that fuel the situation, rather than, deal with issues, as crime. So that is a very big problem because people get burnt alive in South Africa. They get, massacred, and it appears as if it means nothing, to the current government. So that is a very huge concern.
Yes, and when you say it means nothing to the current government, and this is where the United Nations is telling the government, says, you know what, you need to take urgent action. You need to be serious about this. And as you mentioned, sometimes you find that there are people at the forefront of this, prominent people, and these are the people that drive the situation on the ground, that drive the situation where migrants and even refugees are scapegoated to the extent that all this violence, this intimidation that takes place. And this is what the United Nations is saying, that, and we know last year, we know what had happened in South Africa, the looting that had taken place in KwaZulu-Natal and also in Gauteng, but and how explosive a situation this can actually be. And we haven't recovered from what has happened last year. And if the government fails to take action, I don't know, it's scary thought, Dr. Sibanda.
Yes, I mean, look, I think the levels of, violence, that are taking place in the country, and, the failure of the government to really, take decisive action. I mean, you notice when you look at the the lootings that we had last year. I mean, we had the minister talking about so many people that are going to be, arrested. The ones that are arrested, and the crime that they've committed is that they are being referred to as ringleaders, as people that incited the lootings and violence. So similarly, we then have got the vigilante groups, like the Operation Dudula, ATTF, that are known and have been known to be the ones that are spearheading these campaign and attacks on foreigners. But government is not treating it just the way that it has treated, those that incited violence during, the looting. So the government is aware of these groupings. The government dines with them, has thousands of meetings, and I mean, and yet nothing is happening to the leaders and the people that convene these meetings and the people that block the roads, and ultimately end up attacking and burning down, migrants and foreigners living in South Africa. So that shows, a very lackadaisical approach, from the government side, and a non-committal approach. And the United Nations is right, hitting at the right button at this moment, especially in calling, the South African government, to answer to this, because this is unheard of.
Yes, and also I think when one looks at this call that is made by the United Nations and the statement that they had released, these are people that they've engaged with who are experts in the field of racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, intolerance, and these are experts that have actually put together this request, on behalf of the UN to the South African government.
Yes, I mean, look, it's very true, and this is where the problem is, because even a layman, besides even talking about even a layman would actually see that, but look, this is very wrong, because what we see happening here is a situation that does not, objectively looking at what is happening, you can basically see that government is actively participating, in these particular attacks, especially by, covering, for them, and, entertaining the people that continue to do these things. At some stage, you realize that ordinary people are the ones that are even standing up, but the government is the one that is actually fanning, this kind of situation. This has become, a very sore, issue even for ordinary South Africans that already feel that, but look, this is not right, because these groups of people are not really so much as many people as that, but the damage that they are causing is, beyond just, the South African borders. Hence, the United Nations is coming up to the party, and other countries, as we know that what happened in 2019, where President Ramaphosa had to send an envoy, to other countries. So the level of retaliation, even from other countries, and now the international board, United Nations, and the sanctioning, is not doing South Africa any good, especially as an economy, that is quite vibrant and growing, despite the challenge that is facing. So indeed, these are, well researched and well documented, actions of xenophobia that are sitting on the government's doorstep.
Well, let's see what happens, because the government has been given 30 days to respond, and I'm sure you are interested in seeing how the government responds, and I think as we all are interested. So let's see what develops, Dr. Sibanda.
Definitely. We're looking forward to see exactly how the government is going to respond or try and duck and dive, from this particular, situation, because it's not just about government, shelving, blame. It's about what has the government within its borders, within its mandate, to protect, the migrants that are living in South Africa. So definitely, we're very curious.
Well, Dr. Vusumuzi Sibanda, thank you very much for that and for your time with us this morning here on Salam Media. We wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you and your listeners.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of News and Views on this Thursday morning. And we trust and hope that you are going to be having a great day, a wonderful day ahead, inshallah. And we're looking forward to Friday, tomorrow, Jummah Inspirations once again. And I'll be back with you. But next up, you can listen to Juz 21. Sheikh Mishari Rashid Al Afasi will be reciting Juz 21. And with that, I'm going to be signing off from myself and the team here at Salam Media. To all our listeners, our viewers on Salam Media, and also One Nation 88.9 FM. It's been wonderful. It's been great having you with us this morning. So until we meet again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.